What's up, everybody? Ho, ho, ho. Welcome to Xbox A. One of your hosts, Matt here. Festive time today. And I've got Mr. Chris Kringle, the Canuck with the Santa hat, and all the shenanigans. What's on the shirt today, my friend Court? Hi.
It is
Making seasons bright.
Grogu. Come on.
See, I didn't see the lower
$10
half.
Walmart special. Okay, everybody? Ho, ho, ho.
Let's go. Today, we are going to have some fun because Court and I are going to be talking about a little bit of comparisons with everybody of the Xbox Series S and the Xbox One X and discussing what the heck are the key differences between the two. How, like, CPU, the graphics, Court, the frame rates.
Which one you should buy.
Basically, which one you should buy. Especially because it's the holiday season, right? And people are shopping and they're walking into GameStop, and we'll talk about all that in a bit, about walking in there and looking for a new console, and people are still trying to decide between the two. So that is what we're going to talk about today. The Xbox Series S, this is all coming from Windows Central. And Court and I have some thoughts and opinions, because Court, you have which machines?
I have the S.
Did you have the One X?
I did. I no longer do.
Okay, so did I. Okay, I had the One X and the
still
Series X. We're going to talk about the S and the One X. So the Series S is Microsoft's affordable companion to the souped up X, obviously. Baseline 60 frames per second on the S in most optimized games, sometimes up to 120 though. Right. And the Xbox Series S is a little powerhouse that beats the One X in several key areas. The One X was the most powerful console of its time. Yeah, because it came out after the Xbox One, the microwave thing.
Yes, and the PS4 Pro / Jet engine.
There you go. It's offering, from the One X, faster frame rates, loading speeds, and improved controller latency, where the One X excels in, and that was from the Series S, where the One X excels in raw graphical horsepower, but more and more games are skipping the One X as a target for 4K enhancements. Here's some pros and cons coming out of Windows Central. For the Series S, man, Xbox, the Series S pros: rapid NVMe SSD for boosted load speeds, modern CPU granting smooth 60 frames per second in games, tiny volume with small compact design, because you've told me too, like, I don't have the S, it's small, right? Like, it's tiny.
It's tiny. It's the size of Master Blaster, the Transformer.
Sweet.
Like, it's
okay.
tiny.
I got you now. Boosted, for the Series S, boosted controller features with improved latency and a share button. The pros on the One X. That's right. The One X plays many games at 4K Ultra HD resolution, has an HDMI in port, and supports Blu-ray discs, while the Series S is digital. The cons for the S. Stocks are hard to find in some regions. We're in the Canada.
Yeah.
We don't, this is for the US. We out here, guys, Court, we don't have this problem. Like, they're just...
No, I can go to
like,
Walmart, GameStop, they're everywhere. In fact, leads us to our story. We were at GameStop, Matt and myself, last week.
And
we were standing there, we were hearing everybody asking for the X, the Series X, and the girl was explaining that they had 5 and they're gone. Just that day. But I was like, I said, well, you got the S. And she turned to me and said, well, we have the One X anyways, and that's a better console. Instead of me saying anything to her, I looked at Matt and went, that's not true.
And I had to get Court out of the store. No.
Well, no, we went in, we had a great time. I was actually more in shock that the GameStop employee mentioned that as her sales pitch, because they had a lot of S's, and I can't promote this console enough to say the Series S is a next-gen console and continue your story. I was in shock that that's what the person that worked at GameStop said.
I've noticed the same thing, not just the time that we went in, but like, I've gone to Best Buy, the GameStops, everything, and I have seen, people walking in the store asking the same question of like, hey, do you have a Series X or a PS5? Obviously, no. But I'm surprised that nobody takes the second to just even say like, well, if you're going for shopping Xbox anyways, have you thought about the Series S? They're not, because they're literally white boxes all on the shelves, at least they're around our areas. And if they're not flying off the shelves here, although Black Friday, it dominated sales, the highest selling console out of everything. That could be
Yeah, my Walmart doesn't have it anymore. It's
and
gone.
we're dealing with chip shortages too as well for stock inventory, things like that. Some of the cons that they're talking about here though too with regards to the Series S. Stock's hard to find in some regions. Very, very true, because it just depends. Struggles to hit 4K resolution in many games. What are your thoughts on it struggling to hit 4K?
I don't ever know that it's hitting 4K. As far as I know, it only hits 1440p. That was a weird thing to say, struggles. But I have a 4K monitor, but not everybody has a 4K TV. We've talked about this before.
Yeah.
A lot of people still have a 1080p, but I have played Forza. I have played Halo Infinite multiplayer on my Series S on my 4K monitor, and the game runs at 60 frames per second, looks beautiful, doesn't have the ray trace, doesn't have the 4K, but it looks great. It's not my OLED downstairs.
Yeah.
And once again, I have an amazing TV downstairs, but I don't look at it and go, "Oh my god, this looks like it's like Xbox 360. Like, what is this?" It looks amazing. It still looks next gen. Games run in seconds. To me, a bigger thing would be the less hard drive space, and that I can't play because I've turned this into my Xbox 360 machine, and I play all backwards compat games that are on Game Pass on it.
Smart man.
Yeah.
It's the other thing, Cord, is backwards compatible Xbox One titles often locked at 1080p versions. That's what it's saying as a con
Yes,
for the
you
Series
won't,
S.
but it still does the HDR. Like, it's like, I don't know. It's like a mixed bag.
So
First off,
yeah,
I've been
go
told
ahead.
a million times, our eyes can't see 4K. You can say it, you can think it. It's we can see a difference. We just don't see 4K.
True.
I just think this console's better, but I would like to hear more. Yes, the One X has 4K, but
But
it also
it doesn't
is
have
really slow.
Yeah, so the One X often maxes out at 30 frames per second, which I think nowadays, even for a little bit of the older gen games, let's take the Gears franchise. They've updated that thing. Like, it feels like every year they do a new update, HDR, FPS, things like that. You can get Gears at 60 frames on your Series S, and I can't confirm if it would max out at 30, but often they're saying that often the titles max out at 30 versus there's a little bit more in the Series S that will allow it to get to 60.
It'll 100% do 60 frames per second.
And so
to
you're
me,
getting
frames
that.
per second
And
matters.
I think nowadays too, especially even for me, I've been always one for like quality and graphics, and less on the frame rates. But the more games that come out that are like, hey, you can toggle between the two, and I go for 60, I just love how buttery smooth it is, and it changes the way I play. I know PC players are like, hey, buddy, we rock 200 frames, so eat glass.
PC players get the best of both worlds. They get everything.
Modern games have started skipping the console for optimization, which is another con of the One X, and slow hard drive HDD, it leads to long load times versus the S, which seems to run pretty quick, would you say? Because you run Forza on it. How did you find it? Because you played Forza on your Series X and S.
I don't notice the load time difference. I think I've seen Digital Foundry did videos on it. I think it's like less than a second, the difference between the two consoles.
The one thing I'll say, Cord, is just toward the bottom here is that for pricing wise in the US, price for the Series S is $299, and the One X is secondhand only, can cost $400 and more. Why do you think that it's up that high based on the article? Do you think it's just because they're hard to find?
I checked out GameStop. You can get a One X right now on GameStop used at $299, which is the same price as the S. And I think that could be also like, hey, why don't we price it the same as the S? Because the S is a better console, but we're not going to say that and tell our employees to say it. I'm not too sure. Just the 4K. Like, to me, all you're getting out of that One X is 4K and a disk drive.
Yeah, but to be able to get the disk drive to play 4K Blu-rays and everything else, right?
No, I get that. That's what I'm saying. It's a dual purpose machine.
Yeah.
For me, the Xbox Series S is a you still need good. There are some drawbacks. Another drawback would be you need good internet. I am hooked up directly.
Yeah.
So I'm seamless. I'm directly. I have a LAN connection, so it's nice. But I understand if you have bad internet. Friend of the show, Josh. He has the worst internet ever. It just took him 11 hours to download a certain game, and I was like, "Oh my goodness, I'm so sorry for you." 11 hours. So I get it.
I guess if it's your digital machine,
console, like,
yeah.
But for me, it's the perfect second console. Like, I'm going to use this. I'm going to go. I'm away next week, right? This console is going to be with me. I'm gonna be playing Halo Infinite like it's nobody's business on this.
That's why I wanted to talk. We wanted to do this episode too, is because like even for me, I have my Series X, and I've been looking at the S lately because price point and using it as like, do I want like a streaming machine? And very similar to you, where it's like, it's my Game Pass machine, it's my streaming box, and I've been more and more pushing towards like maybe I want to set this up in the main living room with the kids and everybody because there's a ton of games like Outright Games. Shout out to them because we love them for all of the kids, the family games that they produce. So I'm kind of like toying with that, but then this comes up where it's like, yeah, why? Well, I could get a 1X because then what's the difference? But there's pros and cons to both. I'm at least sitting here and let us know in the comments below where you all sit. What kind of matters more for you? Because I think for some it's, well, I'd rather trade off not having the disc drive because it's just my streaming box. Others will say I need the 4K with the hard drive, the disc drive, so that I can actually play 4K movies. I don't know. Feels like
Okay,
the
let us know.
Series S has a little bit more of the edge to this.
Yeah, I think load times alone. Like I don't know if I could ever go back. Load times drive me crazy now. So I don't know.
Well,
once you don't have them, you're like, oh God, can't go back.
let us know in the comments below. What do you guys think about the 1X versus the Series S? Stay tuned for more content. We'll see you on the next episode.